Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to the second day of the Wellbeing Cities Forum 2020. I'm your host, Greg Lindsay, Director of Research for New Cities, and it's my pleasure to welcome you back, or welcome you for the first time if you're just joining us for this year's virtual edition. Yesterday, for those of you who were to join or didn't have the chance, we had a both inspirational and bracing series of sessions to really discuss the global challenges to well-being that has happened in light of the pandemic. Just as a sort of update on that, today the Gates Foundation published its annual sort of goalkeepers report, updating its progress on the SDGs, and reached the very sobering conclusion that the world has, at the very least, suffered a lost decade in terms of progress on most indicators of well-being as a result of all of the resources that have had to be devoted to the pandemic. So this really sets the stage for the next 2 days of the Wellbeing Cities Forum, as we sort of discuss how cities must be the front line and must take the lead in combating these challenges going forward. So for today's program, we're very excited to have a sort of focus on housing and public health today. We're going to have a couple of panels on those, as well as 2 interactive workshops this morning here on Eastern Daylight Time. And we'll be concluding the day with the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation's Housing Supply Challenge. So, of course, focusing during a pandemic on housing when so many of us have had to shelter in place. But to begin the day, it is my sincere pleasure to introduce Mayor Dan Plato of the city of Cape Town, South Africa, to start us off with his keynote presentation. Mayor Plato, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to all the delegates from across the world. Really a great opportunity, glad organizers with the epidemic. The city of Cape Town and South Africa, no exception. And we're all in this, and my heart goes out to all of the other mayors, all the other cities fighting, trying to contain this pandemic. But the issue with regard to populations, with regard to growth, with regard to urbanization is a hot topic across the world. When I visit cities and when I talk to mayors, we're all in this, and we all need to find the necessary solutions to the problem. And I am just going to focus a little bit in-house on what the city of Cape Town are doing and how we address the problem, and maybe we can learn some lessons from one another. I love talking to other mayors, and so that we can get the necessary background information of how best they are dealing with similar issues. But it is correct and true that more and more people is moving from the platteland, moving from rural areas to the cities, with a belief in the mind that there is better opportunities available for them. And issues we're grappling with in Cape Town as a result of massive urbanization. The city is growing much bigger and bigger. And the issue with regard to land availability is high on our radar. The issue with regard to opportunities such as job opportunities, employment, opportunities, economical opportunities in the cities and government at large. And in Cape Town, we're dealing specifically with what we call our Western Cape government, the Western Cape province, the regional government, and they're grappling with the issues of education and health and other social illnesses we jointly need to face. It is true that urbanization is eating into the city of Cape Town's budget. It is a never-ending issue of sourcing for more funds so that we can satisfy the needs of the growing population out there. I think what is equally significant is to take note of the fact, and I would love to hear from other mayors their perspective, the issue with regard to people moving to the cities. Normally people living under the breadline, people already in poverty, in a poverty situation, in a poverty mode, people that cannot fend for themselves, that is not economically active, and also normally people without proper education. They cannot create their own employment opportunities, and they're looking to government to provide them with all of those needs. As a city, also apart from the availability of land is the issue of proper housing opportunities, the proper sanitation opportunities, and obviously the necessary infrastructural opportunities that needs to be in place to make sure that people don't fall further and further into the poverty and inhabitable trap. And in Cape Town, we have over 330,000 people on our housing waiting database. It's a database for us to track down who's first on the database, who must first get a housing opportunity, and others needs to wait in the line and waiting patiently for 10 plus minus years for their housing opportunity. And as a result of massive urbanization, apart from the issues I have mentioned, is the creation of informal dwellings. In Cape Town, the word is site, live on a piece of land, and the government will have to come and provide the basics of opportunities, and they'll normally live in makeshift structures. So housing development is high on the radar of the metropole government, and to provide the necessary what we call brick and mortar housing opportunities, and we are sending staff across the world to go and look at other models of housing provision so that we can stay ahead of the pack with regard to providing our informal settlement residents with the necessary better housing opportunities. At the end of the day, the influx of people in the city create a situation of where even private owned land gets invaded, the owners of the privately owned land then taking the city and the invaders to court to get them off their land, because it creates to a situation where people believe if land is not occupied by structures and housing, that they have the right to do that and have the right to take that land and have the right to go and live on that land. And that is another very important issue the city of Cape Town is guarding against, and to prevent invasion of land. And sometimes what you see on national television or international television is that the city of Cape Town with law enforcement agencies needs to go and get people, evict people off a specific piece of land because it belonging to privately owned individuals. The urban challenges for the city of Cape Town is massive, and the provision of services is a major issue for the city's budget, and with only about 15% of the city of Cape Town's workforce paying the necessary rates, the necessary taxes and property rates, property taxes to the city of Cape Town. And there is a constant plea to national government to up the city's grant funding so that we can, so that national government can assist us in providing the necessary services to the informal settlement areas. I take note of the fact that this is an international issue, an internationally renowned problem. There's no exception in the city of Cape Town, but we are open to take some lessons from our counterparts with regard to how best they're dealing with this continued pressing issue. Urbanization for us is key. We have what we call in place a urbanizational plan. We also have what we call an integrated development plan in place, a urbanizational plan in place. different departments dealing with these plans and these issues with regard to implementation. Spatial development is high on the radar, and then also the never-ending debate with people entering into the city to house them as far as possible near the city center, near key job opportunities, to prevent them from traveling long distances and that sort of thing. It's a hot topic in the city, because in the inner side of the city of Cape Town's urbanized districts, there is not always all the necessary opportunities available, but we try our best to address that problem in a meaningful way, to make sure we provide the necessary opportunities next to economical nodes as far as possible. The economic debate in the city is another debate, to see how best we can provide informal economical opportunities, but also formal opportunities, structure meaningful partnerships between government and the business sector. We have created an entity, what we call VESCO, one of the city's internationally renowned investment arms. We talk to governments, we talk to private businesses, and the idea of the creation of VESCO is to create investment opportunities for the city of Cape Town and our provincial government, so that we can lure the necessary businesses to the city, so that they could come and invest in the city of Cape Town, because we're of the opinion that only through in-house taxes, in-house contributions to the fiscus of the residents of the city and the residents of South Africa, that will never be enough to address these dramatic socio-economical issues we are facing. And that is why we put a very, very high emphasis on socio-economical dynamics, development dynamics, and to raise the necessary capital from elsewhere internationally through key investments, so that we can up our position to deal with all of these issues in a absolutely meaningful way. Just to give you one or two, finally from my side, two examples with regard to the rising urbanization in the city of Cape Town, and that is the forecast for the city is that by 2030, about 60% of the provincial population of the Western Cape will be living in the boundaries of the metropolitan municipality. And that is a massive, massive expansion of our residential base. And the question already in our corridors is if the city of Cape Town will be geared to deal with such a dramatic rise in population. It simply means that more and more people from the platteland, from rural areas, will come and looking for opportunities in the boundaries of the city of Cape Town. It is also estimated that by 2050, that of the world's urban population, that it will reach not less than 6.5 billion people. Other cities in South Africa, such as Port Elizabeth, such as Durban, Pietermaritzburg, Bloemfontein, Pretoria, which is now Tshwane, as well as Johannesburg, is no exception. We find in South Africa that the two fastest growing metropolitan municipality very closely by the city of Cape Town. On that note, thank you very, very much, organizers, for availing me the opportunity to address you on some of the key urban, and we hope by tonight the President of South Africa, Honorable President Cyril Ramaphosa, will bring our our levels, coronavirus implementation levels down to level 1, so that more businesses, more sectors in South Africa can open, and so they're able and to pick up our head, so that more and more of our disadvantaged population across South Africa can find the necessary job opportunities and fend for themselves as far as possible. Thank you very much for availing me this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you very much, Mayor Plato. Thank you so much for such an inspiring progress report on Cape Town's progress towards greater well-being for its citizens. We appreciate your joining us this morning here on Eastern Time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. For those of you attending, this is one of the slight flaws in virtual conferences is that we cannot smoothly usher the next panel onto the stage. So I would encourage you all to go either into the program, or if you've received your Zoom links, to head on over to our next session beginning in about 4 minutes here on housing for healthy communities. So picking up on some of the themes that Mayor Plato touched upon. So thank you all so much, and we'll see you over there shortly.
4 minutes.